Hi, my name is Jess Wallace, and I'm one of the advisors for Catholic Life. On this Wednesday of Holy Week, I'm going to be sharing with you something that's been sort of a struggle in my own faith, with the hope that sharing this, maybe this resonates with something that you struggle with, and hopefully my reflection can meet you where you are and maybe help you think differently or engage differently in your practice of your own faith, as I am still working on becoming a better Catholic and a more faithful follower of Christ. So I'm going to be talking about these next couple of days as we're quickly approaching the climax of our faith story of salvation history in this next 3 days of the Triduum, the great liturgical drama of the Church. And I love that phrase, the great liturgical drama, to represent the liturgy of the Triduum. Because, one, I'm a huge theater nerd. I was involved all throughout high school and college, and so I love the connections that brings between this passion of mine for liturgy and this passion of mine for theater. But as somebody who also overthinks everything, over-intellectualizes everything, and maybe that's you, this can also be kind of a weird word because it makes me very introspective about what is my own role in this experience. How do I engage in the drama? And I can often think of it in two ways. And these aren't the only two ways, but these are the two ways that I think I struggle with personally, is feeling like a spectator and being rather passive and maybe unconscious. It feels like something that's happening over there, and I feel distant and removed and maybe don't understand, can feel like an ignorant way to approach this sort of just as a spectator. And then I move into the complete opposite direction and become the critic. As I seek to become more conscious and more aware of what's happening, I draw these theological connections, which is really good. It's really good to understand what's happening in the liturgy, and this is why we study theology. This is why I've been studying theology my whole life, because I think this is really meaningful and important. And criticism can be really good. To be a good critic, to have a critical awareness and a critical analysis of what's happening can be a really good thing. But it can also be a barrier in some senses, and that can be something that I really struggle with. Staying in the over-intellectualizing, staying in the headspace, and not allowing my heart to enter into it, to forget to be also a spectator, to engage, and that it doesn't have to be passive, to find this medium between unconscious and conscious, to find a medium between passive and active, that it's not all internal either, that it's truly me being present, right? It's not all over there and it's not all in here. It's somewhere in between. And I think a really good metaphor analogy to draw to illustrate this is actually the movie Ratatouille. So there's the big adversary of that movie is the food critic, who is an incredibly knowledgeable food critic. He knows his culinary arts. He's really well respected. His opinion matters a lot because of all of the knowledge and experience he has. But he's also somebody that the chefs fear because he's a really harsh food critic, because he's always thinking about what food should taste like. He has very high expectations. And he's all in his head about what this should be, that he never lets himself enjoy the food. And it's not until Remy, the little rat, through the help of his chef friend, whose name I can't remember, but it's Remy that we care about anyway. It's not until he makes this simple dish, ratatouille, that the food critic is drawn out of himself again. He's no longer inundated by his own thoughts on food and is able to have this true experience of food again by being brought back to his childhood, to be made re-present to his childhood through his memories, through the taste of this food, this very sensation-based experience. He's no longer just thinking through his head. His whole body is engaging in this experience. And that's what we're drawn into in the liturgical drama of the Church, particularly on these next 3 days of the great liturgy of the Triduum. And that starts with the Holy Thursday Mass, the institution of the Eucharist, where we are drawn into the food of the source of our life in the Church, the Eucharist. That it's not just about thinking about the Eucharist, but really letting our whole bodies encounter, to letting, if your church does the washing of the feet, to letting ourselves feel with our whole body, to taste, to smell, to feel, to touch, just to be fully wrapped in this experience. That doesn't mean forgetting all that we know about what those symbols mean, but not just sitting in the thinking about the symbols, but to truly experience the symbols again. And that's something that can be such a struggle for me, that I get stuck in my head. I get stuck on repeat around what all of this means and who am I in this, that I forget to just be present to the experience. This is why the liturgical drama, a drama represents a story, and it can often represent a lot of things, right? And we think about symbols representing, but this is the trick, to move from what does this represent to how am I becoming present as Christ is being represented to me. Christ is always trying to becoming present to us, and on this great feast, this feast that spans 3 days of the Triduum, we have this opportunity to allow ourselves to become present to the Christ who is always present to us, always striving to be known to us. And as we enter more deeply into this mystery of Christ's passion, to overcoming our own selves, or at least for me, overcoming myself, to really enter into this experience. And so I invite you, if this is something that you struggle with, to try to let go of your own intellectualization. If you catch yourself at Mass thinking too much about what this is or what we're doing or what you should be doing, to try to let yourself, as I am going to be trying to let myself these next couple days, to just be aware of your body, of how you and the people around you are being present or striving to be present, and hoping to find Christ in that presence too. So that's just my reflections as we enter in anticipation of these next 3 days, these 3 great days of the liturgical drama, that Christ is present, and not just here, but in our whole bodies, in our hearts, in the things that we touch, the things that we taste. There's this fullness of life that Christ is trying to give us through his death, through his passion. And so I hope that this maybe resonates with you, at least in some way. I'll be praying for you this next couple days, this Easter season. I hope that you pray for me. Thank you.